Okay, we're live. Let's fix the screen. Let's see. Switch over to the comments. All right, guys. We were here earlier with Mayor, City of Del Rio Mayor Bruno Lozano. For our second part of the show, we have Dr. Alma Arredondo Lynch. We'll go ahead and bring her on and let her explain her history and all the things that I mean, we know why we wanted to bring her on the show, but we'll go ahead and have her introduce herself, and then we'll get into the conversation with her as to why we did bring her on the show, why we wanted to speak with her, why all this came about. So without further ado, we have Dr. Alma Arredondo Lynch that's going to join us right now.
Thank you, Isaac, for having me here today.
Hey, Dr. Alma, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We
Well,
know that
thank you.
it's a little difficult for some of the people to find time to join us and everything. So we really appreciate you taking the time tonight and to join us with the people that we have watching our show, right? And the main reason is why I wanted to say is to bring you on and ask you, about yourself. I mean, of course, there's a reason why we were interested in bringing you on our show that we usually have, and there's you did run for Congress just recently, and we're that's one of the things that piqued our interest. The banner that you have there in the back is another thing that piqued our interest a little bit, but pretty much for the audience that we have right now watching and the people that are going to watch subsequently, can you introduce yourself? Give us a little bit of a background about yourself.
My name is Dr. Alma Arredondo Lynch, and I grew up in the Valley. I was born and raised in Starr County, Rio Grande City. That is my hometown. I was born on a ranch that's been on my family for 8 generations. We can trace it back to 1820. And so you can understand why I'm so passionate about the border and the things that happen to our state and locally and nationwide. I'm a former migrant farm worker. I would migrate to California to go pick grapes and tomatoes and peaches and you name it. We were over there for that. And I was the first migrant farm worker to graduate from dental school from my home county.
Oh wow.
And I have 3 children, and I was married for 32 years, and my husband passed away. I remarried, but like a lot of things happen in life, it just didn't work out. And so I've dedicated my life since my husband passed away, volunteering and doing things for our county, our district, and I love politics. And so I come from a family of politics. My dad was very involved in politics. So
You know, and that's why you kind of I know a middleman kind of put this meeting, this interview together for us, right? But that's why we were very interested in you because our platform here is we'd like to reach out to a lot of our elected officials and hold them accountable for whatever is going happening in whether it be the city of Eagle Pass, uh, the Maverick County of Maverick, right? Whether it's Congressional District 23, Senate District 19, or the state of Texas. We always like to have these people accountable and available for us, or I mean, because we have interviewed some of these elected officials as well, and we're you are definitely on our radar as having running on Congress on the Republican ticket just recently as last year 2020. So that's why we were very interested in bringing you in and seeing if we can interview you, and I want to thank you, not just the part for me, but also from the viewers that we have, and of course, I think you heard that we were unpublished just recently, but
Mhm.
our following is coming back up very fast. In the past couple of days, we have reached large numbers, and it goes back to our other page that we had, and I think having you on here is just going to help us out you know to bring awareness as to what's going on here in the border. And that's the thing that we wanted to touch base with you on, the things that are happening here in our border.
It's really a very, very sad situation. Es
Mhm.
algo muy, muy triste lo que está sucediendo ahorita con la inmigración ilegal de todos los que están entrando. With all this illegal immigration that's coming in and the illegal aliens. And we only see part of it, only the part that we are shown with the Border Patrol agents. And even though we only see a few being caught, can you imagine all those that are getting away? This morning, I was at your end of the district over there in Maverick County, doing some business and meeting up with some friends there. And on my way on old I'm with El Paso, the old Eagle Pass Road between Uvalde and Eagle Pass. I'm halfway there, and 8 illegal aliens come running out of the brush, and they start walking down the shoulder, and they were waving at me, and I said, oh my gosh. So I got on 911 and I called them, and when I came to the intersection, there was a DPS officer, sitting there, and I told him, and he just jumped back in his patrol car and ran back there or drove back there. But yes, this is I didn't expect to meet these people this morning, but yes, I ran for Congress. This was my second run. I ran in 2018, and I lost. And I tried it again, and unfortunately, I was not victorious. But I understand. I don't know if I'm going to run again or not, because they haven't decided the district lines. They're going to redistrict our district. And from what I understand today, I heard today that because there's going to be a lot of bickering with the district redistricting lines, that they're going to push our primary to May. It's going to go from March to May. And so then they're going to have two elections, one for the local and then one for the congressional. And so the local is going to be first, and then the congressional will be like in the second or third week in May. And that's going to provide a hardship for our people to go out there and vote, because they get tired of having to go back and vote and vote and vote, and people get burned out. But I believe that when I decided to throw my hat in the ring against Will Hurd was just not meeting the needs and what he had promised to the constituents in CD 23, and that's why I decided to run. And along the way, I met a lot of wonderful people, and you get to know them. They become part of your family, and it's understood. There's some that would rather have a different candidate, and there's no reason to get upset about that. You just learn to roll with the punches and accommodate them, because when you get elected, you represent everybody.
Mhm. No, yeah,
So
absolutely, you're correct. Now, just so people are acquainted, you are pro wall, if I'm correct.
yes, I
Pro
am pro.
wall.
I'm in pro life.
I mean, if you want to elaborate, go ahead, please.
Well, listen, we have spent $152 billion on illegal aliens, and the wall was going to cost us 20 billion. We should have built the wall, and I believe we need to continue to build the wall. And in those areas that we can't build it, well, there's natural resources that make natural barriers, and we also need to use technology to be able to patrol and keep the wall protected. I believe that we need to be putting Americans first. And as it is right now, we have so many people coming across that are undocumented that it makes it hard for us to keep track. And we only hear that because it's being reported. And again, we only hear what's on Facebook, on the news, and there's a lot of activities that are going on with these illegal aliens. For example, there was a young man in Kerrville that came across two Hondurans, and he felt sorry for them because they gave him a really sad story. So he took him home, and he had a business, and he couldn't find anybody to work on his business. So these two gentlemen decided to help him. I shouldn't even call them gentlemen. I should call them beasts. And when payday came around, he paid them. And I understand that he also cashed his check, and these guys had gone home with him. Well, they slit his throat, they cut his arms off, and they took off in his truck. And they found him later. And this happened in April. And they found him in Florida. And so, and then we had this lady from Freer, Texas, that was, was dating a Mexican guy that was a member of the cartel, and she decided to take some money from the cartel, and they also stabbed her on the throat, stabbed her in the stomach, then they cut her fingers off, and they ran her over with the truck. That is still under investigation. And if you'd like, I can provide all that information for you. But we need to control our borders because we need to put our American people first. And what's happening is we're spending so much money just allowing them to come here, and then we disperse them throughout the different states. And when I was campaigning, I was telling them, look, it might not be affecting you now, but sooner or later, you're going to become a border state. Now everybody's saying that they're all border states. And if we don't stop it now, I'm afraid that we're going to lose our country the way we used to know it, where we could go out there and enjoy our freedoms. And now it's getting to the point where I can't even go feed my horses without wearing a gun or holding a gun in one hand and feeding them with the other. And I believe that we need to build a wall, and there's efficient ways of building the wall. And I've been down to Mission, Texas, and I've seen the wall that's built by the Fisher Industries. It's an excellent wall. And of course, we have our friends that are on the other side that say, no, this is an obstacle. This is not going to work. We need to do it like the government. Yet the government is taking over a mile worth of farmers' land, and it's not very proficient because they go build it on the highest point elevation for the floodplain. And sometimes that is not the best thing to do. And so this other wall is right close to the river, and I've been down there several times. You can drive on it. It has sensors. It has access to the water. The farmers have water, and it's just an amazing project. And it's cost a fraction of the time to build it up, and it also a fraction of what it costs to build the wall the way the government is building it right now. But it's private industry.
Yeah, and no, and I agree. The situation down here is getting pretty bad. I mean, not just having to do with the wall, but the situation at hand that's going on with everybody coming over here, and we're just not ready for it.
No, and I'm not against immigration. I'm against illegal immigration. They need to come through the proper channels. We need to vet them and know who's coming over here. During President Trump's administration, they arrested 4,000 MS-13s in their respective countries. That kept them from coming over here. And see, that's what we want to do, is we want to be able to vet these people down there, the ones that are starting to travel this way, and know who's coming into our country, because right now we don't know who's coming into our country. We have Muslims coming in, and the only reason we know that is because they leave their mats when they cross, and they leave their prayer mats behind. And I myself have come across at least twice with two different Muslim individuals, and when I report them, usually they're the ones that got away from the deputy sheriffs. And right here in the Hill Country, we have a lot of places where these people can hide. So yeah, we need to start, us as citizens, we need to take a more active role with our federal government to push for these changes that we need right away, or I'm afraid of what's going to happen to our people. They're not going to have homes. We're going to be sharing homes, sharing ranches, and with this administration, equality as far as financial status is concerned, and I find that very disturbing. And it's coming down the tubes, and so we need to do something about it now, because if we remain silent, that's consent. And I know we're not being heard in Washington, D.C.
And I think you're touching on it 100% when you say we're not being heard in Washington D.C. So we have an elected official in our area, congressional district, Congressional District 23,
Yes,
and that is Tony Gonzalez.
yes,
What I've researched, you were a strong supporter of Tony Gonzalez.
yes. Just because I support him does not necessarily mean that I agree with every decision he makes.
Okay.
Um, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. We had a meeting with some ranchers, and I say I was there, and I did take him aside and I say, hey, what are you doing to help us with this problem that we're having right now on the border? And he says, look, we're trying to get financial help so we can hire more immigration judges. And he says, and the reason we need more immigration judges is because that way we can catch them and the judges can hear their cases and immediately decide if they have a legitimate asylum request or if they don't. If they don't, they get shipped right back wherever they came from. And so that's going to take time, but that's what they're doing. That's in the pipelines, and they're trying to get it done as soon as possible. Because as it is right now, they're just being released with a piece of paper for them to show up, and they're not going to show up. They're not going to show up. And so that's what I visited with him last week. That's what he told me.
Now,
So maybe
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I think maybe we need to have some. Well, my idea was okay. So let's load up buses. Let's load up a whole bunch of buses with illegal aliens and put on the side the banners that say Biden's failed policies, and then have trucks that will drive all the way to Washington, D.C. I've already had all of this planned out. It's going to take us 3 drivers because it takes 26 hours to drive without stopping from here to Washington, D.C. with, buses that have restrooms and everything inside, and then people going ahead of us and fixing up sandwiches or whatever. But in visiting with a U.S. Border Patrol agent, he came by the house last week here at the ranch, and he said, you can't do that because that would be the transportation of illegal aliens. I said, no, and he says, that's against the law. So people, when they take illegal aliens and they take them up north or whatever, they have a special permit. We can't get that special permit. So that idea went out the window. But there was a lot of people that were willing to contribute their CDL licenses and drive the buses. We were planning on taking at least 5 buses and dropping them off in Washington, D.C., at Nancy Pelosi's home, and AOC and all of those guys. But that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Now, you talk about sending those people up there to Washington, right? Those that illegally cross into our country.
Yeah.
Now, my thing, what I want to ask is that how do you feel about the asylums and the facilities that, let's say, the Congressman Gonzalez, that he has supported through legislation, bipartisan legislation? How do you feel about those facilities? Because we just spoke with the Del Rio, City of Del Rio mayor just right before this, and he doesn't feel that these facilities are a solution or they're not the answer to what is happening right now.
Well, you know what? I think I all I can tell you is I don't like the facilities. I think that we should have started sending them back to their country. In my opinion, if I was in his position, this is what I would have done. I can't speak for him because I'm not in his shoes, but I will tell you what I would have done. I would have nipped it right at the butt. I would have started putting them on those holding centers and then just loading up the airplanes and sending them back. We have too many problems of our own to be worried. We cannot be the parent for every person that comes to the United States. We can't be the policeman. We can't be the parent. And if we're going to spend money to send them to another part of the country or spend money to hold them in detention centers, why not just put them in airplanes and take them back where they came from? Or maybe, quite frankly, if it were up to me, I would pay Nigeria or whatever and just send them all the way over there. Sooner or later, they'll come back. But I would send them over there. That's what I would do. And honestly, I can't speak for Mr. Gonzalez and why he's doing what he's doing. But those asylum or detention centers, when you say Catholic charities, and I'm not referring to you, but when people say Catholic charities, that is not associated with the Catholic Church. It's an independent individual that's making millions and millions every week. There's a detention center in Pearsall that could hold 2,400. I think it's holding more right now. That holding cell, and at the time 2 years ago, they were paying between $750 to $2,000 per person per day. That is a lot of money, and so now they hold 2,400. So that money could be used somewhere else for American citizens. Why are we holding them there? Why are we not even vetting them? Because when we go anywhere, we get on a plane, we do anything, we get vetted. You have to have an ID, you have to do this, you have to do that. These people are coming across, they're sick, they have COVID, they have all kinds of unknown diseases that had already been eradicated in the United States. And now they're coming and we don't know what they have. And yet they're turning them loose into the United States. That was one of the other things that I was telling the people when I was out campaigning, was the fact that we have a passive biological warfare going on with those people that we're coming across. Now we have an active biological warfare because we don't know what these people have. And yes, I don't like those asylum centers. I don't like those detention centers. I would just soon ship them back wherever they came from. As soon as they step on our side of the border, let's just get them, fingerprint them, and just load them up and send them back, because a piece of paper is not going to bring them back to the court hearings. Like I said, I don't know what Mr. Gonzalez is thinking or doing, but this is what I would do.
Now, I mean, I say because I do see the banner that you have in the background.
Yes.
Trump. So you are I guess aligned with Trump values and maybe agree with a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump says. And one of the things that we did see was the removing of holding back immigrants or people that want to cross illegally in Mexico. Now that is something that it was proposed and was in place by Trump, President Trump at the time. Now, not necessarily in line with right now what the congressman is doing. And the only reason I do bring this up is because, like I said, you were a supporter of Tony Gonzalez as congressman. So you bring up the asylum shelter, or I brought up the asylum shelters, and you're obviously by your answers, you're not necessarily in agreement with these asylum shelters that are going up. Now, what I'm kind of getting at is that, to me, that's two separate, not separate, but that's two spectrums or two ways you can go with the immigration issue. Is either setting up asylums or setting them up to where, hey, Mexico, you as a country need to hold them there. So those are two different, planes or fork in the road where you can go through.
Right. And I don't know if you know, but Mexico had signed the United Nations Pact of allowing immigrants into their country, almost basically another open borders. And Trump had, put pressure on Mexico, and Mexico was holding their own and and they were helping us down on the southern border. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, if it were up to me, I would build that wall on the southern border of Mexico. And I would build it, and I would pay the Mexican citizens down there American wages, because you know how they handle trespassers, and give them American benefits, health benefits, everything, because I think that they would do a better job and they would take their job seriously. Because if we found out wherever they crossed, we would go and investigate who allowed that person to come across, and they would lose their job. When you start paying them good wages down there, I guarantee you we would probably have a better system, and we would be able to keep these illegal aliens from coming over, because these people there would keep their jobs. I don't know if you're aware, but illegal aliens in the United States, at least 40% that are here are from Mexico, and they send their monies, their remittance to Mexico. And do you realize that the monies that they're making here is more than their petroleum industry exports? So they're sending over there between 28 to 36 billion with a B of dollars to Mexico. And you know how much money Mexico makes with their petroleum industry? $18.6 billion a year. Why would they even stop their citizens from coming over here and earning that money? And so, see, Mexico really, if they try to stop their citizens from coming over here, it's like they're cutting the head off the golden goose that laid the golden egg. Mm. And so there's really not much of an effort right there because they're making so much money. We're a gold mine for them. And there's a myth that I keep hearing that says, well, they take the jobs that Americans don't want. No, you know what? That's a fallacy because Americans want to work and they don't pay a living wage. And they have homes and families to support. A lot of these people from Mexico, when they come and from other countries, they all live in crowded conditions in one apartment or two or a house. And they're able to pay the rent, but most of their money gets sent back to the countries wherever they come from, and we can't compete with that. And so you're going to pay somebody very low wages. An American citizen cannot live at those wages. And it's not that they don't want the jobs; they want the jobs, but they want a working wage, a living wage where they can support their families, and you're not going to find that.
No, it's just going on what you said. It's very difficult here. I mean, it's difficult for people that live here, little own people that are migrating into our country, illegally as well. But it creates an opportunity for a black market, so to speak.
And it's really sad. Mm-hmm. It's really sad that we are creating that black market, and it's usually the the people that need them and the business owners and things like that. California during this pandemic, the people that were working in the restaurants, washing dishes and things like that, they did very, very poorly because of the COVID. But the money going into Mexico was practically about the same, if not more, within that period of time, were the people that work in the farms and in other industries. And so they kept working, but people that were working in restaurants and households, they lost out on that. But the money was still flowing into Mexico and into the foreign countries. And so those are the things that we need to look at. And not only that, but I do know that some of these people use fake Social Security, and they wind up getting food stamps. They wind up getting all kinds of medical care and entitlements from the federal government, that when our American citizens, our fellow patriots, our disabled veterans are denied all of these benefits. And so right now we're diverting this kind of money, $152 billion, to be able to take care of this epidemic that we have right now with illegal aliens. And that is money that's not being spent on our people, on our patriots, our disabled veterans, our elderly. And that's money that we need to be investing in our American citizens, putting Americans first.
No, yeah, I totally agree, especially when it comes to like the asylums and everything else that's set up in the border. I couldn't agree with you more because I believe that our veterans, our people should be coming first before other people in the country. I'm not saying don't help them, but we need to be coming first in those situations.
And the thing about it is, like, well, I'm a dentist. I'm a rancher and I'm a dentist. In my office, I see a lot of people that are on Medicaid. And let's face it, children were my bread and butter forever. And so a lot of I've seen, countless of people, women that bring their children, and in essence, they're like rent-a-kits from Mexico. And I'll give you an example. I had a lady that had been bringing me her daughter since she was age 5. All of a sudden, she's 10 years old now, and all of a sudden she's got 4 teenage brothers and sisters. And I asked the lady, I said, "Are these your kids?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Ma'am, why didn't you bring them before?" I said, I've been seeing your daughter for 5 years. And she says, "Oh, well, they didn't want to come to the dentist." And then I take them back there and I visit with them because I always do. I make them comfortable. And they're all from different families. And so now the lady's getting the earned income credit for the child and getting thousands of dollars per each, maybe $1,200 per child. And then when they need dental work and I ask them to come during the summer or the Christmas vacations or whatever, they can't because they're vacationing in Mexico. I would like to go vacation in Mexico too, but I'm at 10 o'clock at night working on my patients. And I know that a lot of people, American citizens, would like to be vacationing in Mexico, but these people are over there and with our tax dollars, and they get food stamps. And another thing is when they come over here, if the mother takes that child and tells the DHS, or where they get their food stamps and Medicaid, that the child is disabled, automatically they get on SSI or Social Security disability. They get checks, and they know all the ins and outs. And our people don't get anything. And when I say our people, I mean our American families, patriots, people that are on this side legally.
No,
So
yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged type of sword situation
yeah,
where damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? That's how it goes. I mean, there's no other better way to describe that situation than that, right? Um, Now, I know we kind of progressed through this whole interview a little bit faster than I wanted to. What I really wanted to discuss was a little bit of your background. I mean, you did touch on that you're a dentist. I did want to have our audience understand where you come from, uh, what what it was that I guess drove you to try to run or make an attempt to run for the U.S. Congressional District 23 as a Republican, and just kind of give us a little bit of background of Dr. Alma Arredondo Lynch, because not many of our viewers know you. You are a first time on our show, and I really do like when our viewers get to know the person that's here, and
yeah,
an intimate level, and let us know to where is you came from, where it is you want to go, and what was in between. If you
right.
can backtrack a little bit on us, I know this is
I understand,
we're
and
already like in the middle of the interview, and we're probably bringing out the background, but I don't want to stop the momentum that we had at the very beginning of it. But if you can indulge us.
oh yes. Look, we we were like I said, I grew up. I was the oldest child out of 10, and my grandmother raised me, but we lived all in the same yard. You know how that goes. You all live in the same yard within a few yards, and so my mom had 10 kids, and my grandmother started raising me when I was a year and a half. But as the older I got, and let's face it, la raza de uno would have a whole bunch of kids to help supplement the income. So, we were future income earners at a very young age. We would go to California to go, pick grapes and all of that. So that was income coming in. But, we used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be in the fields picking grapes at 4, because those of la gente de nosotros que iba a levantar, that would go pick the grapes, cultivate the grapes, knew that the colder the night was or the morning, the sweeter the grapes. And so as soon as the sun would come up, the levels of sugar would drop. So then we would have to go find another job somewhere else. So by 4 o'clock, we were in the fields. And you know what? I didn't want to do that all of my life. And the only escape that I had was through my education. And unfortunately, we have teachers and I'm not saying all teachers, that would see me and say, no, she's not college material. She needs to become a vocational, somebody else's secretary. And that might be true with some of the kids today. And I would like for these kids to hold on to their dreams. If they want to be a doctor, you can be a doctor. Just set your goals high and make sure that that's what you want to accomplish, because there's going to be a lot of obstacles, and a lot of people put obstacles out there. You have to overcome those obstacles. And I didn't want to be somebody's secretary. I wanted to have 4 secretaries of my own. I only got 2 secretaries, but I'm happy with that. And so I became a conservative when I started earning my paycheck and I started seeing where my money was going. And I didn't want that. I wanted to hold on to my money, and then we became, when we were in California, that was the first time we had ever come across Medicaid and food stamps, and my aunt would tell my dad, hey, you need to get on food stamps. They'll give you food stamps because you're coming from Texas. And my dad says, no, I can make a living. I have my kids. We can make a living. And they would even give food stamps for the dog. Well, we didn't have a dog, but my aunt says they would even give food stamps to my
Wow.
dog. And yes, and so we started traveling. And one of the things that I did was I would have my books shipped or mailed to me I would tell my counselor that I would be say that I would be in Coachella or Indio, California, picking grapes and packaging carrots. I would tell my teacher, okay, I'm gonna be in Delano or Bakersfield by this time. Would you please mail my books with my assignments, and I'll mail my assignments back. And so by the time we got to Delano to the next grape fields, I would go and pick up my books from the general delivery, and I would do my homework late at night and mail my assignments back. I didn't want to stay at that stage of a migrant farm worker. It was an honorable living, but I didn't want to do that all my life. I didn't want people telling me what to do. And so when I started, looking, and I'll be very honest with you, when I was very young, I grew up in a Democrat household. You would support a Democrat, and I remember my dad supporting Edward Kennedy. And but there was other things. I started noticing the more educated I became. There was Ramsey Muñiz, La Raza Unida, and that was a very big disappointment because we were very, very young, and we were excited that we had one of our own running for governor, and then it was a tremendous letdown. And so the more I researched and I started aligning with pro-life and Second Amendment, the pro-guns, and allowing people to make their own living, doing whatever they wanted to with money. You had your own liberty with that, without having the government tell you what to do. And I didn't like that. I wanted less government and more economic freedom, and I found that with the conservative Republican Party. But I don't consider myself I consider myself a constitutional conservative. I believe in the Constitution. It's not a breathing document. It is stable. It doesn't change with time. And I believe in the principles. It's worked for us for the last 230 years, whatever. And I hold those dear and close to my heart. And I just wish that young people would look at that. And I think that by them, with the Democrat Party giving them all these handouts the way it is right now, they're complacent and they're happy to live that way. And we shouldn't be that way because sooner or later they're going to come around and they're going to collect what you owe them. And when you don't owe anybody any money, you have that freedom. And I want to be able to, cry freedom. I have freedom. And I believe that education, whether you are a mechanic, whether you go to building trades or any of that, will set you free. You become your own voice, very independent, self-thinking. And you know what? When you become your own boss, you can speak your own mind and not be afraid. Just like you have this wonderful talk show, and I mean, you come out and ask me questions, and I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you what I think, and where I stand. I don't know what anybody else is thinking. I don't know what Raul Reyes is thinking. I don't know what only what you're asking me. I'll answer those questions, but from my perspective, I can't tell you what they were thinking or why they're doing things a certain way.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you brought up Raul Reyes. So we did have him in the show last week, and he had some interesting choice words for the congressman that ended up winning the Republican ticket and ended up winning the Congress seat. Like I said, in our research that we have, whenever I bring anybody on, of course I do my research and a little bit of background on everybody. You were a supporter of him. I know you were in the primaries for also the Republican ticket. And once that was already sold out, you did kind of switch. Whenever the runoff came on, you did go lean towards Gonzalez a little bit. And well, not a little bit, but you lean towards Gonzalez. And
I delivered West Texas for Tony Gonzalez. And the reason for that is, and I'm just not going to go into details, was I was happy to stay out of because both of them reached out to me. And honestly, I had run in the 2018 and I stood there all by myself, all alone. And then in 2020, both of them reached out to me, and I was willing to stay on the sidelines and let them battle it out. But something happened, and I just decided that I would go ahead and support Tony. It was something negative, and I choose not to go into that because I didn't come in here on your show to bash anybody. And, listen, Tony, everyone in this congressional district is, I mean, it's a 2-year position. If you don't like him, 2 years rolls around really quick. People are already lining up and signing up and registering to run. And then we just had the election like 6 months ago, it's 7 months ago, right?
That's how it feels,
And
right?
it goes really quick. So, we have that choice come next May. And we can vote him out. If he's not doing his job, we'll vote him out. And that's our vote. That's our voice. You go out there and you vote for the person that best represents your values. And I believe that I represented the values of the majority, because our demographics in this area, 73% are Hispanic, give or take a few points. They're Hispanic, and we generally tend to elect someone who has is the furthest from our values. And I'm going to tell you right now, we have people that are very good running in Congress that not necessarily have served in the military. And I believe that sometimes when these guys come out of the military, I believe that they need to hold the job down for quite a while and know what it's like, to try to meet your overhead, try to make the payroll and everything, because these guys come right out of the military and they don't have any idea or any experience what it's like to own a business. And sometimes owning a business and being out here struggling like the rest of our everyday folks, you are going to understand life the way it's lived in this area a little bit better. And you can make decisions on that. And another problem I have with that is the people that have been in the military have had somebody superior tell them how they have to do things a certain way. Whether you're a lieutenant colonel or whether you're a master chief, you take orders from somebody superior. And when you're not in the military, you can just tell them, well, you can shove this. And I believe that I have that strength. And many times these people take orders all their life, that when they go into Congress, they take orders from somebody else. I'm a Marjorie Green. I am a Marjorie Green. Nobody tells me what to do. I can decipher. I can sit back and look at things. You and I may disagree, but you know what? After a few hours, I set that aside and let's march forward, because we have better and more important things to fight, because a lot of people depend on us. And I really appreciate you having me here, addressing this to the people. I would like to speak to them in Spanish. I'm sure you have a big audience that may listen to in English, might not comprehend. Pero yo estoy aquí para hablar en español también. Yo soy educada, y entiendo el idioma y te lo hablo muy bien. Cuando se te ofrezca, estoy aquí para ayudarle a la gente también. And not only that, no nomás eso. What I do in my practice is, look, if you're I'm semi-retired, okay, so I can tell you this. Yeah. Anybody that was 80 years old would come to my office. Their visit, everything was free for that office visit. I believe that these people had already served and paid their time to our country. I have had veterans that are not 100% disabled, so they don't qualify for any kind of medical or dental care under the military standards. And so I would have military men and women come by my office. Their first office visit was free and everything else was discounted. I have had some of my patients who are very, very poor and couldn't afford to have a funeral. I have donated towards their funeral costs. These are the things that people don't know about me. But now that I'm out here, I want to share that. You said, I want to know who you are. I want to really deep down know who you are. People call me. Every one of my patients has my cell. Anybody can reach me 24 hours a day. But one thing I tell my patients is, don't call me at 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning, and I just extracted a tooth on Friday evening, if you can have a beer. Okay, don't call me at 1 o'clock in the morning. Call me if you have an emergency, you're ready to die. I'll be happy to meet you at my office. You will find me at my office at 10 o'clock at night doing a root canal on a 65-year-old, 70-year-old person. That is just the sort of person that I am, because people don't get sick Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. People get sick 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so I'm available at all times. And that's the way that I would have been had I been a congresswoman. So there you have it.
No, yeah, and then that's I think it's admirable that to have because traditionally you do not have elected officials at that level readily available to answer constituent questions, because there's always going to be constituent questions, and I mean, at any level that you're an elected official, of course. I mean, you can be at the school board, you can be a PTA president, you
Yeah.
know, and you're still going to have people wanting to question what's going on here, what's going on there.
Yes.
One of the things that we wanted to ask as well, I know we're getting up there in time. We don't want to keep you too long. How do
It's
you
okay. I'm
feel?
not gonna go feed my horses. I already fed my horses and my animals, so I'm okay. I really am.
How do you feel about the new Democratic guy coming out of for the District 23, Congressional District 23, Mr. Lita, Mr. John Lita, coming out just recently saying that he's probably going to contest Tony Gonzalez in the next election. Have you heard about that? You want to touch anything about that?
No, I don't know who he is, but that's the beauty of America, that we have choices. And if he wants to throw his hat in the ring, more power to him, and anybody else who wants to come out and throw the hat in the ring. As you know, we're going to pick up two more districts, maybe two more districts. We don't know where the lines are going to be, drawn, and so there's going to be room for people to put their hats in there. My experience has been that just because you're a Democrat, and you know what, this got me into a lot of hot water. I don't know if you know, but I sit at the state Republican Executive Committee level, and I
Yeah.
represent SB 19. And I got myself into a lot of hot water. But you know what? I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing. I supported the Democrat because I believe that not all Republicans are good for Texas and Texans, just like not all Democrats are bad for all Texans and Texas. And the gentleman that I decided to support is very conservative. Is the number one conservative Democrat in the state of Texas. Do you realize that this gentleman co-authored the Second Amendment? The Second Amendment, and Democrats are anti-guns, and he co-authored that. Not only that, but he was the only Democrat to support the heartbeat bill, and his name was Mr. Guillen. He was the only Democrat that was out there. So when you tell me Mr. Lita is going to run as a Democrat, you know what? Let the people decide, because that's the people's voice. If they think that Tony's doing a good job, vote for Tony. If you think he's not doing a good job, then vote for the other gentleman. Again, I don't know who Mr. Lita is, but hey, if he meets your standards, then you vote for him. Because that doesn't give me a right to talk about the Democrat, because I don't know him. And
Oh,
for me to be able to say something, it would be very hypocritical when I endorsed my friend. He was a friend of mine. His mom went to school with me, and that's why I endorsed. And besides, I think he was a better candidate than the other person, and for a lot of personal reasons too, reasons that people don't know. And I choose to vet every single person and everything that goes on in all the different counties. And let me just put it this way: that county, the demographics are 67 to 69% Hispanic, and that party has not had very many Hispanics join or allowed to join that party. And siendo tejana, tengo problema con eso. Quiero que todos nos den también la voz a nosotros. If we can sit at that table, we should be allowed if we're, have the same beliefs. Don't come to us only when you want our vote. Because that's one of the problems that I had with the former chairman of the Republican Party, was the fact that they would come to the Tejanos and say, okay, we need so many votes, go out and get them every 2 years, but we were not good enough to sit at the top level with them at the governing table and make decisions that would affect all of us. And so, I've had problems with a certain group of women because they wanted to send two white people, the way they were dressed, they would never make it to the barrio. And I try to explain to them, you can't send two people with suits to the barrios, because they're going to think that they're Mormons. They're going to shut the door on their face if you're going to send them. Or two women, they're going to say they're the Jehovah Witnesses. Somos católicos. They're not going to open the door to these people. And I was trying to explain to them the demographics and what we need to be able to reach out to la gente. And they got all upset with me. But you know what? If you don't have our input, you're never going to make that kind of progress in our neighborhoods, because the majority of us are Catholic. We are very conservative. We believe in family values. We like to hold on to our guns. They share the same values as the conservatives. but you have to have the right approach. And if we're not good enough to sit at the table and help you see what we need to do in our communities, in los barrios, we're not going to make any headway. And so that's why I speak my mind. And that's why I believe Marjorie Green and I would get along just fine in Congress, because, we don't take this kind of uh, baloney from anybody. We're going to tell you what it is. And if you want to approach our people, this is how we do it. And so I'm very outspoken. And some people don't like that. Some people don't like that. And you know what? I have my convictions, and by and large, I share a lot of convictions. I bet you if I was to sit with you on a one-to-one basis and discuss what we believe in, we would come to almost the same conclusion. Sorry, I get so passionate about this.
No worries, no worries whatsoever. That's why we have this platform, so people can express themselves freely and explain to the viewers right now, and the viewers that are gonna see this later on. Explain to them how it is, and straight from the person. It's like I was telling Mary Luzano earlier, is that we appreciate that when people can be genuine and explain from their perspective. And it's not to change anybody's perspective. It's just to allow them to peek into a different perspective than they may hold themselves. And I will say it takes a lot, because supporting a Democrat as a Republican, that takes a lot of brass, because I'm sure that wasn't an easy.
I was stripped of all my subcommittee duties, but you know what? I was already doing that even before I was elected to sit on this position, and I would drive to Austin, and I wasn't representing anybody, just myself. And so when they stripped me of these duties because I supported a Democrat, I still was going over there, and it looks like we're going to make some kind of headway with the Second Amendment, the open carry, and I'm that was my baby, and it looks like we may. And honestly, we couldn't have done it without the help of the Democrat. And he actually brought in 5 more Democrats with him that voted with the Second Amendment, and or the HB 1927, and one of them is Mr. Mireles, and then Mr. Tracy King. And that's the kind of influence that Mr. Guillen has. And of course, I won't get credit for that, but that's okay. I don't really care. My mission was to get Second Amendment, introduced and brought out and made into one of our Texas laws. And if that happens, I don't care who gets the credit, as long as it gets done. And another thing that I do want to touch is that we really need to unite and try to get either Abbott or see that we need to open up our oil fields, because our men and women that work in the oil fields are unemployed, and that's so we can open up those jobs. And it's not like he's going to create the jobs are there, that just closed down, and we need to put these men and women back to work, because that's what they want to do, is work. And as it is now, it's hurting our economy, it's hurting everyone. And I don't understand why we're going to go to Russia or import our oil when we have it right here and have our independence. And that's one thing I liked about President Trump. He kept, put America first, put Americans first, put our oil and men and women in the oil field first. And the price at the pump is painful, and it hurts everybody. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, it just hurts everybody.
Now we're gonna go ahead and it's been a while. We're getting to about an hour now, but what can you tell us? I know there's a lot of stigma or a lot of misinformation as far as former President Trump goes. Now, I can see that you're a strong supporter with the banner in the background, right? Where have I know the vote in our area has increased significantly Republican, and I do believe that he has a lot to do with that. But for the people that may still be skeptical, or maybe no, Donald Trump, plug in your negative narrative, right? That they've been pushing about former President Trump. What do you have to say as far as a supporter of the President Trump? in his support, to
Well,
push
you know
away
what?
all the negative in this area about him.
The sad thing about it is, if people only listen to Univision, Galavisión, they don't get the full picture, because let's face it, the media was against President Trump, but President Trump provided, opened up the opportunity. He lowered the capital gains tax, the taxes for the upper class, people that provide jobs. He lowered the tax brackets for them. That in turn helped us. We had the lowest unemployment for our people, for the Hispanic people. We also had the highest employment for women, business, minority women, especially Hispanic women with businesses. They were thriving. The blacks also were doing the same thing. They were thriving under his economy. He was putting America first. Now what's happening is, now we're going back to the maquiladoras in Mexico. Now we're going to go into foreign countries and get our products from over there. When he was actually beginning to, we were making a difference, but it did not. To the media, everything he did was everything he tried to do was wrong. It didn't matter what he did. I mean, he would have found like people say, if he would have found the cure for cancer, it would have been wrong. But he tried everything to help every single American. But you know what? He can't give you something free. You have to work for it. And yes, Maverick turned red, and I have to put in a plug for Alfredo Arellano Jr. He worked very, very hard. One of the things that he and I, the people that don't know, we would meet at my office at midnight, picking up political signs, especially President Trump. I would go pick him up in San Antonio. He would meet me at my office at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock at midnight. And he was very instrumental in turning Maverick, or raising the numbers in Maverick County. You have to give him credit. And of course, his family and the people like Sheila Kipuros or Kipuros. I'm at a loss how to pronounce her name. And Rosalina and Marta, and all of those people that were out there working, they helped turn Maverick County red. And you have people there that believed in our president. Otherwise, that would have never happened. The valley turned red, but only President Trump turned the valley red. But it only translated on the upper, only for him. Because if President Trump or the Republican Party had actually turned the valley red, it would have translated all the way down ballot. But the only one that came out on top was President Trump. So President Trump turned Starr County, which was the #1 county that had the highest percentage of voting for the Republican in actually for the very first time. And so he was very instrumental in I can't take credit for that, but he was instrumental in turning the valley red because of the job and the employment and the opportunities he provided in the oil field. He opened them up for everyone. And I tell people, look, oh, well, he only cares for the rich people. No, that's not true. He cares for you because eventually, if the person upstairs gets a credit and he can invest, and I benefited from that. I could hire extra people to work for me, providing more jobs, and in turn, they would spend their money in the local economy. And in doing so, he brought a lot more people into the economy. My tias down in the valley, I never thought I would live to see the day that my tias would vote Republican. And they were for him. And you know why? Because of the wall. They would see the corruption of the people coming from Mexico, and they got all the benefits. And they that had lived in the United States forever, being 6 generations American or Texans, they didn't qualify for a lot of these benefits, and yet people from Mexico would come. And so he was trying to curtail the people coming in and all of that. And they loved that. They loved the president. I even did a video on one of my tias who I never thought I would see her vote Republican. But the president was very instrumental in opening up jobs, and it affects everybody. And I asked, when people said, no, he only cares for the rich people. Hey, listen, when you go to MD Anderson, it says MD Anderson for a reason. MD Anderson opened up that cancer center. He was a very wealthy person. When have you ever seen a poor man give a job to another person? That's impossible. That person, whoever's poor, can never hire anybody else to work for him. But if you have another person that's above that can hire you, he's going to hire you. He can donate also. He gets a tax break. He invested back into research centers, into cancer centers. That's why you have Scott and White. That's why you have the Mayo clinics. These people didn't come about because they were poor. You've never seen a poor person's name on a marquee on the side of a health facility. These are rich people, but they also invest back in the community. and it helps a lot of poor people that have cancer that go to MD Anderson. We need to start changing their line of thought, because whenever they benefit, we all benefit all the way down the chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me ask you this before we're done. Um, where are you thinking in the future? Maybe around next year. Are you thinking of maybe throwing your hat in again in the congressional race? Are you up for that, or what's
Well,
your thoughts on that?
right now, I have my ranch up for sale and I have my business up for sale. So I don't know where the Lord intends to send me, but I trust Him. And again, like I said at the beginning, we don't know where the lines are going to be drawn. So if the lines are drawn way out of let's say that the lines are drawn outside Uvalde and just Maverick County and all the way up to Midland, Odessa, to Ector County. And you've been campaigning everywhere else. I mean, you've wasted your energy and your money. So sometimes I think it's best if you just wait and let's see where the lines are going to be drawn, and then I'll decide whether I want to jump in or not.
So it's undecided right now. I mean, it's maybe.
Yeah, I'm undecided. I haven't made up my
You're
mind.
in a rush to decide.
I'm sorry?
You're not in a rush to decide. You're waiting for the line.
No, I'm not in a rush to decide. And I know people have already thrown their hat in the ring and all of this, but you know what? Let's wait and see where the lines are going to be drawn. Who knows? We may wind up with Bernie or Kendall County and all of those up there, Kerr County. And so you've been out here campaigning in Alpine and near El Paso, and you wasted all your energy. So you don't know. We don't really know where this is going to wind up. We may wind up with Webb County and some of the maps that I've seen, and I really don't know. Time will tell, and it's all in God's hands. We'll see what happens. If I sell my ranch and I move closer to my family down in South Texas, who knows? Who knows? But I appreciate you being very tenacious and wanting to know.
Well, I mean, just so you feel better about the situation, I was just grilling the mayor of the city of Del Rio right now about why he's been on Fox News, and we were trying to ask him, are you getting ready for a congressional run? Are you getting ready for a state rep run, a state senate? We were pushing him too, so don't feel that we're just pushing you for whatever reason. We were asking the Del Rio mayor just an hour ago the same exact thing, because we were curious as to why he's coming out so often on Fox News. Because I watch Fox News, I see him, and I'm like, hey, why didn't you come to us first to announce some of these things? But
so is he going to run? Is he going to run?
Well, he gave the same explanation that you did right now. It kind of
and I didn't see that.
It was right. It was right before we came in contact with you. We had scheduled both of y'all. And we don't like to cancel whenever somebody says, hey, yeah, I'm available. So whether we run it an hour or 7 to 8 and then 8 to 9, that's the way we do it. But yeah, he was the same way. He didn't want to say, yes, I am going to run for mayor again. Yes, I'm going to run for state rep or anything. He kind of took the same position you were taking, as taking a step back, seeing how everything kind of falls into place, and then he would decide from then on. So we appreciate you sharing that with us. I know we've had this going along for a little bit over an hour now, so we don't want to waste too much of your time. But I don't know if there's anything.
No, this is not a waste of my time. I really appreciate you asking me. But even here where I live, I used to be able to go outside with just without a gun. Now, if I go feed my animals, I have a gun in one hand and I'm feeding my animals with the other, because it has gotten so dangerous out here, especially for us ranchers, and we're being affected. And it seems like illegal aliens have more rights than Americans, and they can go and destroy your fences. They can run through everything, and they don't get prosecuted. They're not. So who do we send the bill to? I just feel for the ranchers and farmers that are out there having to deal with this every day, and also to the regular, your everyday American citizens whom their homes get broken into. It's going to cost them money to repair them and everything. Who do they send the bill to? And so we really need to, that would be my primary concern. That would be my primary goal, is control our borders and then take care of the problem that we have within our borders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you again. I know we had this for about a week or two scheduled, so we appreciate your time. We really do, and we look forward to maybe again coming on and bringing you on. Maybe a little closer to primary time to see if maybe things yeah, maybe things have changed. Maybe you've thrown in your hat. Maybe you're not. Maybe you support somebody. And I mean, we value the opinion of those that have been out there and have taken the time to try to make a difference in communities out here. That's what our thing is really about. And we like to reach to several different people. Not we're not just biased to where we just reach one side in anything. And that's why we really appreciate you taking the time, and we hope to interview you again sometime very soon.
Well, thank you so much. And to be honest with you, I was kind of hesitant about coming and being on your show. But thanks to Rosa Arellano, she says, no, you got to go. You got to go. He's very good. He stays neutral and just, just be yourself. Be yourself in that show. And so I know they're watching. I know they're watching. And my groups of ladies that we met today for lunch, I know they're watching. So.
Well, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want to say hi to them or anything, a little shout out before we end this interview.
Oh, okay. Well, Rose, hi, Rose. Hi, Chila. Hi, Rosalina and Rosalinda and Blanca and everybody that was there. And to the waitress from the Huddle restaurant. She was she was the only one working there. So we were very patient because they only had one waitress and she was on the verge of tears and pobrecita. So a shout out to her and everybody that's out there working, making this possible for us to have a good time. And thank you for having me over. And it was very pleasant. I didn't know what to expect, and you made it very easy for me to be able to open up. And I thank you for having me.
No, of course, and that's what we try to do. We try not to, lean one way or the other. What we're here is just to inform the public, inform our community, and whatever the community decides after that is their prerogative, right? But what we want to have is the people who are going to represent us, and I do feel that in some capacity you do represent us here, South Texas, and everything. Whether you're a congresswoman or not, you still do represent a large voice here in our community. So we appreciate that you take the time and come on here, express your views for the viewers on here as well. So, I mean, again, I will say this. We look forward to interviewing you again, hopefully a little closer, like I said, to the Republican primaries. Maybe things will change by then. Maybe we know a little bit more. But we really appreciate you taking your time. And
Isaac, and I have never asked my patients whether they're Democrat or Republican because a toothache happens to anybody.
yeah, it sure does. It sure does, right? It's all alike.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. God bless you. Que Diosito me lo cuide y me lo bendiga a usted y a su audiencia pública.
Thank you so much, and we really appreciate you joining us. And you have a lovely night and the rest of your week.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, that was Dr. Alma Arredondo Lynch. We want to thank y'all for being patient with us and joining in with us on that interview. Again, she ran for Congress on the Republican side not so long ago, this past year. So that's why we wanted to bring her on, explain a little bit of the information about you guys, about her platform, what she believes, what's going on in her eyes. That way you guys can make your own opinion whenever you got to go vote, right? There's several Republican candidates that came out. We did have Mr. Raul Reyes, retired lieutenant colonel, come on last week. We have Dr. Alma Arrendondo Lynch this time. We hope to get sometime in the near future, if he ever gets back to us, Congressman Tony Gonzalez, because there is questions. We do have concerns coming from Dr. Arredondo Lynch and also Raul Reyes about the asylum shelters that are being opened or are being supported by our Congressman Tony Gonzalez, and we're hoping that Tony Gonzalez will be willing to come on our show here and explain or talk a little bit about why he supports these asylum shelters, when it seems a lot of the people that we have spoken to here in the Southwest Texas border are don't feel the same way about these asylum shelters that he may feel in supporting them. So I want to thank y'all. I know that it's a little bit different now that we don't have the original page with a lot more followers. We saw upwards of 20 when we used to see around 60, 70, 80 people join in our lives. But we appreciate those that did join in, and we're going to try to build this page the same way we built the last page. And we thank y'all for joining in and being patient with us. And staying true to what you guys want to know and the information you guys want to know. And that's what we're trying to do, is stay true to the information that we want to give out to you guys, and make sure you guys are well informed whenever time comes to make a change, if the change is needed, right? I want to thank y'all again for joining us. We did have a back-to-back show, so to speak. We had Mayor Bruno Luzano on, City of Del Rio. For the first hour, the second hour, we brought on Dr. Alma Arrendondo Lynch, a former Republican candidate for Congress. She made it to the primaries, of course, and two successful interviews for our community to get to know the elected officials in our areas. Not just Eagle Pass, not just Del Rio. We have Uvalde, we have Carrizo, we have Crystal City, all the Southwest Texas border region. That's what we're trying to cover for y'all, and that's what we're trying to bring for y'all. So you guys are aware and make the decisions the way you guys see fit when it comes to voting for different people. When it comes to voting for different people on these election dates that do come around. We're going to bring you guys very soon the City of Eagle Pass City Council Place 4. We're going to have interviews. We're going to have a debate. So you guys watch out for that. We just got the dates in last week. So we're going to be trying to schedule them in for this week. But I just want to thank y'all for following and for viewing in on these shows. And we hope, please share this video, tag your friends, help us get back to the community that we had before. We're hovering just under 1,000 followers right now. We did get knocked down by Facebook a couple of days ago. We were at 7,000, over 7,000 followers. We're just reaching 1,000 followers right now. So if anything, guys, if you can help us out, share this post, like this this video, tag your friends on this video. We're trying to increase awareness. That's all we're trying to do here. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday for sure. But you never know, we might pop up with an interview. You know, if we can get it for you guys, we'll get it for you guys. All right. So thank you guys for joining in, and y'all have a nice and beautiful night.